Michigan Soccer Central.
Hello, and thank you so much for pressing play on the latest edition of the Michigan Soccer Central podcast, your weekly dip into the world's game being played right here in the Great Lakes state of Michigan. How's it going? My name is Robert Kerr, host of the program, recovering from an amazing weekend of soccer. Saturday night, had the pleasure to be on the call for Oakland County FC versus Kalamazoo FC in a must-win for both teams to make the USL 2 playoffs. They have to reach the top 2 spots out of 7 teams, and Oakland County came out with an amazing 4-3 thriller, and that sets up a big week ahead for Oakland County as they go head-to-head in their final 2 games with AFC Ann Arbor, who lost against Flint on Saturday. So the 2 sides will go head-to-head on Wednesday at Pioneer High School in Ann Arbor, and then Sunday in the regular season finale at Royal Oak High School. I know I had a hard time going to sleep after Saturday night's victory, and so this week, who knows what will happen from there. So Summer League Soccer starting to reach its crescendo. Lots of good stuff happening in Midwest Premier League, USL 2 in this fight for the playoffs, as well as the variety of other leagues, men's and women's. Please be sure to check out last week's feature. It was a great sit-down interview with 3 of the stalwarts of Oakland County FC, but it's largely a story of friendship over a long time. The 3 guys didn't know a time without each other. They remembered their first memories as playing soccer in Rochester as first graders and been playing ever since, but 3 very different routes to Division I college ball. All 3 went to 3 different schools, but all took very different routes, both high school, travel, academy, and then they all reunited each summer through their collegiate careers at Oakland County. So be sure to check that out on the Michigan Soccer Central YouTube. Great conversation with those gentlemen. And then check out the podcast feed, over 100 episodes on your favorite audio streaming platforms. The previous week before, we talked to high school state champs on the girls' side from Stony Creek. Great conversation with them. A repeat Miss Michigan, Miss Soccer Michigan in that interview as well. So be sure to check that out. And we've got a great feature this week as well, a little bit of a departure from the players' side. We have a little bit of an MLS Next explainer, and I know I was somewhat clear on what it was, elite youth organization or league that kind of took over for the DA when the federal USSF stepped out of that realm, and MLS created MLS Next to kind of fill in that section of the landscape. And to get this lowdown on MLS Next, we got Michigan Jaguars head coach and MLS Next Academy Director Pete Pososki on the program on the heels of the Jaguars U16 team that went to the MLS Next national semifinal. And so we get to hear a little bit about that great run, his team, as well as what MLS Next is all about. So tune in for that here on the Michigan Soccer Central podcast. Welcome back here on the Michigan Soccer Central podcast. We're going to dip into the elite youth game here because recently the Michigan Jaguars U16 MLS Next side made it through to the national semifinal. To get a little bit of an explainer on what MLS Next is, what its goals are, its footprint in Michigan, and a little bit about the achievement and the tournament run itself, I've got Michigan Jaguars head coach and MLS Next Academy Director Pete Pososki. Welcome and thank you for joining us here on the Michigan Soccer Central podcast.
Thank you very much, Robert. Pleasure. Appreciate you having me on.
And like I said, the U16 side in your academy made it to the semifinals, but I just want to start off with listeners who don't know exactly what MLS Next is. Well, can you explain what it is and what its goals are?
Sure. MLS the professional league, top platform for soccer in our country, a few years ago, stepped in when U.S. soccer kind of pulled out of the youth landscape. Many years ago, I guess, well, not that many, but a handful of years before that process happened, U.S. soccer, looked at the landscape of youth soccer in the country and decided they needed a national platform that they would, run and position and all, put the divisions together, the clubs, all that kind of stuff, and that was called the USDA. Recently they decided U.S. soccer could no longer support that, so the MLS, I think, recognizing the need for such a platform, decided to step in and sponsor the league themselves. So all of the MLS professional teams in our country have academies that play in this platform, in this MLS Next platform, and I think it's arguably, I would argue certainly the top platform in the country. So all of a lot of the top clubs around, and then obviously we have professional academies that are a part of it also.
Were you serving in this role before, like the rebranding or the change over to MLS Next? Were you the academy director in its former state?
Yeah, actually, the state of Michigan only had, at that point when U.S. Soccer was in charge, there was only two clubs that were a part of the USDA. That was Vardar and the Wolves. And then when the MLS stepped in, I think they felt that the footprint of soccer in the state of Michigan was large enough to support more. So we went through the application process with the higher ups at MLS Next, and just kind of explain to them who we are and what our goals are as a youth soccer club in the state. Obviously our location and what our footprint is, what type of players we draw. And luckily enough, they decided to accept us in. So we have been in since the first year. That first year we were just U13 and U14, but we've grown now all the way through. So where we have the full platform. So that's under 13, under 14, under 15, under 16, under 17, and then it skips to under 19, which is a combined age group.
And so recently, like I said at the top of the program, your U16 team that you coach yourself went to the semifinals, and I think it was down in Texas. And before you I want to hear the details and the excitement of that run. But
Sure.
Is MLS Next typically, is it league based or tournament based?
So it's definitely league based. With a 10-month season. So our boys who are of high school age do not play high school soccer. They stay with us for the entire kind of calendar year, I guess you would say, soccer calendar year. So we'll start up. We're on a break right now as the playoffs just ended. We'll start back up in August, beginning of August, and that season will run all the way till June. And we take a break, around that December, January time, where we take another month off. So overall, it's a 10-month season.
And so the group that you had in this season would most likely be, much the same going into the next age group.
No, not quite. We'll have quite a few changes. We've had a handful of the boys who were lucky enough to be offered spots with MLS professional academies. So they've decided to move on and go and chase their professional dream by joining an academy and actually moving out of state. So pretty cool for those boys. They're very exciting that they're going to have that opportunity. But yeah, we'll look a little bit different for the coming year, but that's okay. That's a part of the process.
That's very exciting news. Could you name the names of those players that
Sure.
we're going to the next level?
Yeah. Salvatore Donato is going to join Columbus Crew. Colton Swan is going to join the Colorado Rapids. And then Ren Sylvester is going down and he's going to join FC Dallas. And we actually had a couple other boys, with some trials that didn't quite work out, whether it be timing or, whatever other logistical reasons. So there's a few more who may have those opportunities. It was a very good group, top to bottom. So, but yeah, we're excited for those three that have had that chance and have accepted it at this point.
Have the Jaguars reached this level of the competition before?
No, actually, this was our first crack at the playoffs with any of our groups. We only do playoffs at U15 and above. The U13s and the U14s don't have a final like playoff, but U15 and above does. So we managed to get in, only having three of the four possibilities, but that's fantastic. It's our
Very
first time in the
exciting.
playoffs, and it was a heck of a run.
So, yeah, I guess let's get into that run a bit. Like, how did you qualify for the tournament, and like, how many games did you actually get to play down there?
Yeah, so there's two ways to qualify for MLS Next playoffs. There's one event. It's called the Flex event. Certain of our league games count towards that. And then if you're high enough in your divisional standings, you go to an event, in the Northern Virginia and Baltimore, DC area, where you play like like a little mini 3-game tournament. If you're tied, you go to a shootout. It's fun. It's exciting. It's fast paced. 3 games in 4 days. You win your group and you get an automatic spot in the playoffs. We unfortunately weren't able to do that. I thought we had a very good event. Got a little unlucky, but felt good about where we were. But luckily enough for us, we finished high enough through our regular season league play. They took 2 teams out of our division. And lucky for us, one of the teams above us actually did win their flex group, so we got bumped up a spot and made it in. So we qualified through the league pass. Actually, it was pretty interesting, and the fun started before the playoffs did because we went to soccer's, needing to tie or win. If they beat us, they would have jumped us in the standings and taken our spot in the playoffs. And we were down 4-1 with 22 minutes to go, and managed to tie the game 4-4 and qualified for playoffs. So that was our final game before we went to the playoffs.
And when was that? When does the season end? And like, kind of how did
Yeah, first weekend of June. First weekend of
first
June, and
week?
then they give us a couple weeks to recover and train a little bit more, try and get healthy, and then we were off down to Dallas around that 17th or so.
So springtime was a pretty wild time, and I can't imagine a 3-goal comeback with the season on the line. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, the boys have been fantastic. Just as a total group, they're a very confident group. Probably more so than some of the staff members at times, which is good and bad. But in that circumstance, with those last 22 minutes, I believe it was, yeah, they really stepped up, and it was exciting. It was interesting for sure.
So what is the we touched on some players that did so well to go to those MLS academies. What's the kind of makeup of the team in general and the MLS Next players? Are they from the Metro Detroit area, or do people kind of come from out of town? Like, what is the makeup of the squads?
Yeah, with the club home base being in Novi, I would say the majority of our players are from the Metro Detroit area. But yeah, we've got boys who come over from the east side who want to be a part of it with us. Some boys from the Lansing area, Ann Arbor. So the footprint's fairly large. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, they're all west side of Metro Detroit.
And then you have a fair amount of what does no or does Michigan kind of is that any different? Obviously, there's like the big states like California and Texas. I'm sure there's quite a number of teams, but does Michigan have more or less clubs than most states?
Yeah, difficult for me to answer, to be honest with you. I will say, the Metro Detroit area, having the three of us with the Jags, Wolves, and Vardar, I think that's probably right up there. Maybe behind like a New York City and an LA, kind of like you mentioned. But I lived and worked in Philadelphia for quite some time, and I think they've got two. So yeah, I mean, it's the soccer has been noticed by the league in the state for sure. With us not having an MLS franchise either, I think that helps to a certain degree. But yeah, we've got the three right here in Metro Detroit, and then over on the west side of the state, Midwest United, with their base there to draw players from the west side. So yeah,
So
they've pretty much covered a good chunk of the state.
with you working with some of the best players in the area in these young age groups, for parents that might be listening, what age group would you say players need to really start to get like really serious and just like a commitment to play at this kind of level?
Wow, difficult question to answer, right? When the boys are asking for it. You know, when the players are asking for it, then it's probably time. I will also say, you know, the sooner you're involved in the environment, the better. Um, you know, we have pretty high standards within the league. You know, we have to the U13s train 3 days a week. Everything above that goes four. So you know, it's four trainings. They limit the wear and tear of the games. We do have double fixture weekends where we'll play a Saturday and a Sunday, but we also sometimes just play once on a weekend, and then you know we'll get weekends off and stuff like that. Like I said, it's a 10-month season, so the physical toll of playing you know a game in the league is a lot, especially with the substitution rules that we have. You get to U15 and above, and we go with you know like the soccer you see on TV, where you know it's a roster of 18 guys. You get 3 moments to make subs. Once a player is out, they're out. So some of the boys have to go 90 minutes, you know, and to do that back to back is difficult. So the standards I think help develop players, right? That's why we wanted to be a part of the league, you know, to be in this environment for our best players. We feel is you know second to none, and so if the players want to be in it, then for me, I would say probably arguably the sooner the better, you know, again, once they are asking for it, because it is a lot and it's difficult for sure.
Yeah, so the players got to have that appetite, that hunger to play more, to you know push, push, push. Like yeah, that's the selling point. If they're already playing a lot and they want more, that's probably a good indication to take that next step up. Um, of the recent run to the national semifinals, could you pick out like one moment that'll kind of hang with you?
Uh, wow. I mean, honestly, there were quite a few. If I have to pick one, I think so. We beat St. Louis City, the MLS club, their professional academy. We beat their under 16s in the second game, I believe it was, in a shootout. Um, we'd given up a late goal. Um, boys worked really hard and battled back. I think we gave up a goal in extra time, maybe around the 90th, 91st, 92nd minute. Um, battled. We were down 1-0. Earned a corner kick in like the 96th or 97th minute. Wonderful ball. Boys all put their heart on the line. I think it was Colton got on the end of it, ties the game. Referee didn't even take a kickoff. So we tie the game on literally the last touch of the ball. We've tied the game. And at that point, all the other games around us have now ended. Either their shootout started before ours did, or they were just done in their regular time. And so now, as we are heading into penalties, the entire field is lined. And when Ez makes the save at the end to win the shootout, which I think was like the 9th or 10th shooter, maybe something like that, or that might have been the first game. And maybe Ezra stopped 3 of the 5. I don't know. He had a heck of an event. We did win a couple shootouts. I think it was actually the St. Louis one where he might have stopped 3 of the 5. And absolutely just chaos as everybody rushed the field. Some of our players who were now at Columbus, some of our players who were at other places now were running out there with their teams, random teams that just happened to be walking by, and the field just getting absolutely swamped while security was trying to run around and clear people off is probably something that I won't forget for quite some time.
I can imagine. Jumping around a little bit. So go back to the player who might be interested in getting in. How do they get on the radar to hop in at this MLS Next level?
Yeah, a couple of ways. You know, emailing us with interest is a good one. We like to do everything above board, right? So letting their coaches and their clubs know that they have an interest in it and they want to express that interest to us, it's probably step one. And then from there, you know, we'll try and gather information if we can on players. But mostly, honestly, it's we do talent identification nights, and they generally start in like January, probably February, and we'll run those all the way through May. once or twice a month, where we allow players from outside to come in. They register, they come out for the night. And we try and do that as often as possible, again, because you don't want to make decisions on players in a 30-minute window, right, or an hour window. Plus, we get to know them as people, which is for us equally as important. And they get to know us, also equally important, right? Because again, like I said, it's a lot and it's hard. And so, we want people who want to be with us and are confident in our platform and the way we do things. And so when those ups and downs happen, it makes it a little bit easier for everybody to get through both sides of that if they believe that they want to be with us. So the more opportunity we get to spend with these boys, the better, right? Because they get to know us and our styles and our personalities and what we like and how we go about things, and vice versa. We get to see how they train. What are their attitudes like? What are they like off the ball? How are they when they're not on the field? So the more opportunities we get for those things, the better. But yeah, so we try and make it a fairly lengthy process if possible.
I bet that you're happy to have a relief after the conclusion of the season and all that talent identifying and all that. I bet that this is like your one moment to release the pressure.
Yeah. The spring gets a little bit hectic. There's no doubt about it. With playoffs looming, and are you going to go or are you not going to go, and flex events and shootouts and identification sessions and tryouts and all that stuff. Absolutely, it becomes a lot. But it's fun too, right? So it goes by so fast. But yeah, right now, the boys are on a break, so the staff will go on a little bit of a break as well. Try and recharge the batteries a little bit and start it again in probably less than a month.
Yeah, I was gonna say before we go, what's the next thing on the radar for you guys?
Yeah, season will start up in August. We'll start training with the boys early on in August. We've got new players in. Trying to organize our groups and make sure that we can fit the boys into, to fit them into our system and our style, what we're looking for from players, set those standards early on, the expectations of what they have to do to follow their dreams and achieve their goals. We try and help them with that, and then, we start playing soccer right away. So cool. It's a good time.
It sounds like it. I mean, you're living the soccer life 100% by the sound of it.
Yeah. No, I'm very lucky, very, very lucky. And we've got fantastic boys and a fantastic staff who do a great job. And they were all down there for the event. And those guys, they live it just as much. I was lucky enough to be the head coach for the team, but there's no way that I can take the credit for it. The players. And their parents for getting them there and supporting them off the field, because it's very hard. But then the staff, I think each one of them absolutely contributed, whether it was a tactical piece, a physical, recognition piece, an emotional helping with the boys, or me. I'm very lucky with the staff that we have, and they play a crucial role with all of our successes, no doubt about it.
Well, congratulations on the great run this spring, and thanks for sharing so much time with us to explain MLS Next and what the Michigan Jaguars have been accomplishing in that league. So, head coach and MLS Next Academy Director for Michigan Jaguars, Pete Pososki, thank you so much for hanging out with us here on Michigan Soccer Central Podcast.
Well, it was my pleasure, Robert. I was happy to. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much to this week's guest, Pete Pososki, the Michigan Jaguars MLS Next Academy Director and head coach of that U16 team that did so well to reach the national semifinals. Thanks to him and all of the guests that we've had on the show. That is the big bulk of the program. With them, the show doesn't go. Thank you to Pete and all the guests in the past. Thank you, listener, and thank you, Jenny Hajnaki, who usually edits all of these programs, and then the MLS or the Michigan Soccer Central core team. A lot of MLS this week. But big thanks to the Michigan Soccer Central core team. Without you guys, this show doesn't go either. And then so I am going to be filling my week with Oakland County FC action, like I said at the top of the program, Wednesday night in Ann Arbor, and then Sunday afternoon, the conclusion at Royal Oak High School Stadium. So I know I'm going to, and hopefully a win will put me over the top. But everybody, until next time, please enjoy your soccer.
Mexican Soccer Cyclone!